Hello. No sound. You're muted. No sound. Hello. Can you hear me? Lisa, can you hear me? Tina. Hang on, we're having a few sound issues. I can't hear you. You can hear me. Can you hear Victoria? Victoria, muted. No one can hear you. Can't hear you. You're muted. No. Yeah. Yeah, the people can't hear you either.
Okay, so hold on. Lisa, you're not muted. Can you put number one in the chat if you can hear me? Please, thank you.
Yeah, Victoria, not Vic. Can hear you, not Vic.
I think you can hear me loud and clear.
Tina, yes. Vic, no. Can't hear Victoria. Yes, not Victoria. 2 minutes, guys. How are we all? How you all doing?
Sammy, it's not working, the sound. The sound isn't working on here.
So what are we all thinking about the Huw Edwards news today?
Hello? Can you hear me now?
No. Yeah, I'm okay. Just doing life. It's Monday, isn't it? Monday's always a really shit day. It's the start of the week. Oh, God. Back to it. Good, no school. No school for the kids. My kids are back at school today. Be with you in a minute. Huw Edwards is a disgrace on the BBC, in my opinion, for still paying him like they did. Oh, look, I'm solo. Yeah, I just think, what's this world coming to? How is this okay? Two minutes, guys. Just dealing with a sound issue, and my daughter's just come over. You right? No, Vic.
You can't hear me.
Oh, I can. We got you.
Yay! I'm so sorry about that. I don't know what that was, honestly. Dodgy microphone, need a new computer, quite possibly. How is everybody in the chat? So sorry about that. It's a bit of a long-winded start. I do apologise. So we wanted to change it up today because I wanted to speak about Huw Edwards because today was quite interesting. He did plead guilty. So he admitted to having 41 indecent images of children which had been sent to him by another man on WhatsApp. And he went to Westminster Magistrates Court. If anyone in a different country doesn't know Huw Edwards, he's a presenter for the BBC. Can you still hear me, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, because you were just calling me again, Tina.
I know. I heard the call.
Sorry, right. Okay, so And so, yeah, he included 7 category A images, the most serious classification, 2 of which showed a child aged between 7 and 9. So then he also had a lot of indecent images of I think between 12 and 15 years old. And the BBC knew that he had been arrested knew why he was arrested in November. And they still continued, by the way, to pay him full pay while he was suspended. Now, bear in mind also, this guy was a presenter for a lot of the royal coverage. So he was very well established within the BBC. He'd been there for years and, had a lot of respect as a news reporter.
Well, to the point where he was the one who announced the Queen's death.
Yes.
He was that respected.
Yeah.
He was the planned person to do that whenever it happened. That's how highly regarded he was within the BBC.
Yes, he was. He was very highly regarded. And as far as who he is as a person, he had a wife. I think her name's Vicky. She also works in the media. And they have 5 children together. So they're all adults now. But he was just a well-respected family man. And, this whole thing was kept very quiet. I feel like there wasn't enough coverage on this from the beginning, and we didn't have a clue that he was being paid still, even though they knew what he was being charged for. And he goes to court today. He turns up at court, and considering there is 377 sexual images, of which 41 were indecent images of children,
as young as 7 years old.
As young as 7. They were different categories, A, B, and C. So he had the highest, most. I mean, I'll say it here, but it's involved non-penetrative sexual activity, and some serious abuse, including penetrative sexual activity. Okay, so these aren't just images; they're also videos. Okay, and he was sentenced. I mean, this is the joke of it all: 12-month jail sentence, but it was suspended, right? Or no, sorry,
2 years suspended sentence.
Yeah. 2 years suspended sentence, which means nothing. Absolutely nothing, right? And you think, what sort of precedent are we setting to people that are sharing these images and have these thoughts and this deviant behavior in their head? And it's almost like they're condoning it.
And what sort of, it's encouraging, like these people would go out and commit again, and they tend to go to prison after a few. It shouldn't even be that case, it shouldn't even be that. They call it a victimless crime.
Listen, there's an intention there. There's a deviant intention there.
There's a victim down the list, isn't there? In order to get that video.
Exactly. Where did the video come from? Is it, it has a girl or a boy or any child been put in harm's way to get that video? And I would have thought, I know that there are ways of doing it now, which is really, really scary, that AI is producing images and videos using people's faces, children's faces, and it's going to be very difficult for the police to distinguish the difference as AI gets better in technology. I think it's going to be hard.
Sadly, the way it's going, I feel like with the way the system sort of seems to protect the culprit at this point, I feel like the AI would be a great beneficiary for to use that to deflect, So I feel like for them, it would be you can't help but think that current climate with what we're seeing, how they're not sending him to prison because he's a well-known face and the hate he's going to get. And You're protecting him from that?
They are protecting him. I think it has a lot to do with the state of the prison system as well at the moment. I think there is it's a weird situation that we're in right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking about this, Tina, and this is something that we are, passionate about, and the prison reform system and the release of these prisoners recently. Now, I've got the numbers. I'm just going to get them up of how many prisoners were released. And these prisoners were violent offenders or sex offenders, or they were domestic abuse offenders. So I'm just going to find...
Which makes me really, really sad, because, the system still don't understand the control of coercive control in a lot of these people, because of, although we've seen people quickly go to prison of recent times, a lot of these victims of domestic abuse or SA, they've waited 18 months to have that day in court because of the backlog. So they've gone through all of that to finally have that day where they have to stand in a courtroom and go through the ordeal again. Can you imagine going through all of that, then having a letter because they're releasing them early? It's almost like they're taking the hope off the victim and handing it straight to the abuser.
Exactly. And I find it abhorrent that they actually think that these type of prisoners are the ones that should be released. So You've got fraudsters, you've got drug dealers. Now, I'm not condoning that behavior in any way, but they're not a danger to the public. They're not a danger in the way that these particular prisoners are. And there was 1,700 inmates released from jail to ease overcrowding. Now, most of these were violent offenders in some way.
And let's be honest, you just watched a man go to prison for shouting at a police dog. So, I don't, but come on,
Yeah. No, I think we have got our values completely twisted in the system now. But it shows me that whoever is running and orchestrating this type of reform does not value women, does not value children. That is how I feel from what is being... their actions are speaking louder than what they say. Yes, they don't, they are appalled by sexual violence, domestic violence, but yet they are acting in a completely opposite way.
Yeah.
And it was funny that you say that they arrested the man. What was it? Sorry, the man that was shouted at a dog. Okay.
I believe they're making a point of this across Twitter today, because he got sentenced to 9 months in prison for that.
I mean, what was their charge? What was the charge for it?
Well, obviously it's associated to the riots and it fits into the far right sort of category. Okay, so rioter who shouted in a police dog's face, jailed for 20 months, not 9 months. And they've got him next to, a man who's brought child pictures, who's been given a 2 years suspended sentence. So as you can imagine, it's like a red flag to a bull right now, people up and down the country. I think when you get someone that's been in our home every day on TV, it's sort of, you remember the backlash to, I know it's completely different territory, but Phil and Holly, when they jumped the queue with the Queen, the backlash they got. I think it just sits different as well when they are people that you sort of think kind of thing. And current climate, I just don't think it's a great look when we got paedophiles just avoiding jail.
No, and like you said, it doesn't make sense that whatever he was shouting at the dog, was it hate crime? Was it more targeted at the police? Do you know what they were saying?
No, nobody. I don't think anybody knows, but your own basic common sense was, is that man liable? Is he a danger to the community? Are many of the people that have gone to prison and actually, are they going to come out and commit these crimes every week in a continuous? Are these people like Huw Edwards, if they don't get caught, going to continue? Actually, when they get caught, they're going to continue at this point. We've got a lawless, it seems lawless to me at this point, this country.
Dreadhead says, release the TV license, people, not abusers. And the irony of it, Dreadhead, is that he's a BBC presenter. So imagine being in prison for not paying your BBC TV license when the presenter gets to walk out free for doing what he's done, sharing indecent photos of children. How is that morally justified? How can they even sleep at night doing what they do to the normal folk that don't want to pay their TV license? Because why should we be paying a TV license? It's up to you whether you want to watch the BBC or not. I don't want to watch the BBC, but I still have to pay the license. Otherwise, I go to prison. But this dude walks free.
For the most, it's the most vulnerable. They're children. Like, they're so vulnerable, and it's not this. The worst thing is, we see it every day where these, people are getting away with rape and stuff like that of children, and it almost seems like it's being normalized. It's like it's just wrong. And I think we can all agree, we just try and do life. We try and treat people good and kind and follow this moral ground, the majority of us, know right from wrong. And currently, the justice system, the police, it just seems wrong. Completely wrong. You can't look at that and be like, yeah, that's okay. And I know a lot of people were jumping on Twitter today and sort of saying, well, actually, this is actually a normal sentence for this crime. And it's like, well, is it normal? Should it be a normal sentence, though?
I don't think so, no, because I think that if you, and unfortunately, there are men and women that are wired that way, and they're wired in a deviant way, and they have urges that they can't control. Now, it starts, I think, online. It starts looking for images and looking for, sites that they shouldn't be accessing. The dark web alone is somewhere that they would go to find indecent images. But then it moves on, because I think after time, and you notice that the older these type of people get, they need more of a rush. And to fulfill their desires, I think they like to then act out their desires. So as far as I'm concerned, prevention is better than it happening to a child. So if for example, there's someone shows that they have a potential to do that because they are accumulating these sort of indecent images, then aren't we better taking them off the streets? Because there is a potential there that will happen. They will act on impulse. And a lot of these PDF files, they will strike and take opportunity when there is a vulnerable situation. It's normally done, it's not premeditated. They see an opportunity and they'll take it. And we're putting our children at risk by having these sort of men being allowed to continue to have that freedom to access this type of content. And it's scary, because I know that there are many, many, many more men like this, and they are living in the shadows. Now, there was also, going back to the release of prison inmates, there was a convicted, this guy, he was a convicted sex offender amongst one of the 1,700 that was released. And on the same day, it was exactly the same day, he was released, he actually sexually assaulted 2 other women on that day. So he was a known threat to the community, a known threat to society, and yet he was just allowed to walk free, and he just acted out again straight away.
Within 24 hours, he was back in.
Yeah.
And you know what? When you've got the reoffenders, anyway, even the ones that are being released, a lot of them become institutionalized anyway. And I've seen this with my own experience, with my own family. Nothing like, you know, these animals that are children, but I watch a family member sort of do the petty crime and back in, because when they come out, there's no support, there's no help. And, you know, some would say they don't deserve. But I watched a man, actually, I wonder if I can show it and put the sound up. He got released on the early release, and he was really honest. He sort of said, what am I going to do? What am I going to do today? I'm going to go to probation, probably get bored, go and buy a bottle of whiskey, mull over my life, which I haven't got much for life. Then I'm probably going to do a few burglaries, and I'll be back in prison. And it was just like, oh my God, you know, like he was really honest, because it's a broken system. But releasing these domestic abuse, the coercive control element, they don't understand either, in what the control they would have over their victim, in how nothing will stop them. They will go back and they will try and revenge or what have you. I own you kind of thing.
Just going to interrupt you there. Hello, Paula. How are you? Thank you for this. I don't know what an NIO is, though. What's that? What's an NIO? 250. Is that money? You're not sending me 250.
Money, yeah.
Are you joking, Paula?
It's Nicaragua sort of currency, I think.
What is that then?
Hey, Paula, we are so upset as well.
Well, thank you, Paula. I don't know what an NIO is, but that's great. Thank you very much for that. You shouldn't have done that, though. That's too much. Whatever. If it's money, then I'm going to send it back to you, because that's naughty. But thank you very much. That's lovely. Thank you. Hope you're well, Paula. So I was looking at the amount of offenders that have been released, and they're going to stream out more, trickle out more. And it just makes me wonder why they are choosing these particular inmates. I think, like you said, these are the most dangerous in society. And there is no real way to reform these characters.
No.
So they have issued something for Huw Edwards. So he's also got he's going to be doing like a reform. What's it called?
Yeah, but how many days is that, Victoria?
So he's doing a reform program.
How many days?
I think he's got 25 sessions. I'm just trying to get
40 days.
40 days.
40 days of doing a course on how not to be you. In the person that you've just avoided going to prison for, to which many people have suffered for. And do you know what? He's got this big elite law firm. And do you know what their slogan is? Which is sickening. Their slogan is the law firm that has just got him out of this, shelter through the storm. And it's like, so what about the victims? You know, the many victims, where's their shelter from the storm? Where's, and they're worried about Huw Edwards' mental health and the suicide risks, and because he's a famous name, he might be picked on in prison. And it's like, what about the PTSD for the people, the young children that are the most vulnerable, who will live a life of, no doubt, suffer the aftermath of it? Where's their shelter from the storm?
It's set up to protect those in power rather than to protect those who are vulnerable. And we see this a lot in American courts as well. That if you have money, you're more likely to walk away. And if you know people in power, you're more likely to walk away. The average Joe does not have that luxury, unfortunately. And you know, we even saw it with the who's the guy that killed his wife, the Kardashian. Yeah,
O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, I mean, OJ Simpson, imagine that. Definitely did it. But he got off. Imagine. All the evidence was there, clear as day. But he walked away because he had money. And the system is set up, especially not so much here because we don't have bail money and we don't have as much money invested in the courts here. It's a different setup in America, but you know, if you've got the bail money, you're out. But if you haven't, you're staying in and you're on remand for a very, very long time because it's not as quick here to get a court date. You could be on remand for years and years. So yeah, you're right. So it was 25 sessions that he's been given. And he has 25, and I don't even know how that reform program would work. I'd be really interested to get my hands on the structure of it. And part of this they are saying that it's due to the fact that it's overcrowded the prisons, and that's why he's not been sentenced. But it's quite ironic, isn't it, that the timing of this is quite convenient for Huw.
But then I just see what message. It's just everything in this is the wrong message. In LCG, I'm sorry that you face that, and so many people like you. So not only cases like this and people seeing the abuser walk free in anyone that's released on prison early right now, but people that have been through that in their real life, real time with another abuser, it's just going to cause flashbacks and upset and distress to them like it is Elsie. You know, it's going to anyone that has those urges but never really acted upon them may just think, well, you know, because I'm not going to go to jail for it right now, because it's just so much. And anyone that's had that experience and wants to speak out will probably think, I won't now, because is it worth it? You know, it's so sad. I've got to go. I'll be back in a minute. Okay,
no worries. So the Internet Watch Foundation has attempted to halt the spread of online sex abuse images of children, as there are thousands of people committing similar offences to Edwards. But there are thousands of people committing offences like Edwards, and there is currently nothing to prevent this. So these exact images, as it stands, could still be in circulation on WhatsApp, sent again and again undetected, because obviously WhatsApp is encrypted. And I suppose it takes a certain person to go and report that person as well, right? So, but if you're sharing content between you, you're both probably like-minded. And the NSPCC also say that people like Edwards fuel online sexual abuse. So he is, you know, where there's a need, there's supply and demand. It's unfortunate, and even speaking like that makes me feel a little bit sick. But the charity's Child Safety Online Policy Manager of the NSPCC says online child sexual abuse is at record levels, and offenders like Edwards who fuel this crime should be in no doubt about its severity and the impact it has on victims. And companies must also put things into place. You know, you've got Instagram, you've got all these different platforms, social media platforms that don't particularly do well in filtering out the graphic content. So you do even have a lot of violent content, you have a lot of far right content, or, you know, you're swinging in terrorist territories, and it's not filtered through and it's not policed very well. So we're putting a lot of images, or people are putting a lot of images out that are going to affect a lot of people. And it ends up desensitizing you to what you perceive as normal, because
Mm-hmm.
your child could sit on a laptop all day, or anyone that's vulnerable, and they could be pushed a certain agenda, and it can brainwash that person. And I'm not just talking about explicit content, I'm talking about terrorist content, I'm talking about extreme content.
Mm-hmm.
And the ideologies of certain people are pushed upon other people, and then you're brewing a problem. Then you're brewing a dangerous part of society.
Mm-hmm.
And it does need to be policed more. So companies must put more stops in place so they can identify and disrupt any child abuse images. And the messaging services also need to get involved and crack down on this sort of content. But I am it's really disheartening to see what happened today, and they're not taking any of this seriously. They're not taking what he has done seriously, in my opinion.
No, not at
I
all.
mean,
And to be honest with you, I read someone said today, with him having that fame, in a way, they should have made a president out of it. So it would propel people from, to actually see a point made of him. Because, I feel like when you've got that fame, it's a massive platform you've got. And if you're willing to do that with all of that, then maybe it would stop another to see someone like that going to jail for doing that. It's just a bad message all round, isn't it? But I think it's just been a slow build up of seeing a lot of crimes like this, where people are not being given prison sentences, which makes people question now, especially when you've got the comparison of the man shouting at the dog.
no, I mean,
It shouldn't be normalised like it is.
And our freedom of speech is slowly and slowly diminishing. I think I do feel like if we have an opinion that doesn't suit the agenda, then we come up against the whole system and we get shut down. And this is why YouTube is a really hard place to navigate, because you want to say a lot more, and it's difficult to do that. And it shouldn't be.
UK's a hard place to navigate.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But this gets even worse, Tina. So there's thousands of convicted sexual offenders across England and Wales have avoided prison. So a lot of these people are on suspended sentences. And some of these adults are convicted of sexually assaulting children under the age of 13, or engaging in SA activity with underage teenagers, and they've not been jailed. Imagine living near one of them.
Yeah.
So they say that just over,
they've been on a 40-day course, it should be all good.
You can't change the way you're wired, unfortunately, unless we castrate these people. That is the only way to know that your children are safe. And 60% were immediately sent to prison, with the rest dealt in other ways, such as conditional discharges and fines. So they're just roaming the streets. And
literally that, isn't it? Because, and this is why I suppose there's a lot of counter arguments about prison, and a lot of people coming out from, I suppose, the left, you say. And I'm not doing sides. I am, obviously, but I'm just saying where they say, and I did see someone speaking the other day who was a petty criminal who was in and out of prison. They were basically doing the argument, if you don't have rehabilitations within the prison, if you don't invest in, the petty criminals, they're going to come out, they've got this crime against their name, they can't get a job. So then they are literally stuck in a system where they're constantly in and out and stuff. Obviously, crimes like Huw Edwards, that needs prison time, in my opinion, and many people's opinion. I don't see how we're normalising this level of crime now.
And normalising the early release of them as well. That is just baffling to me, that our president, our prime minister, our president, I've been watching too much Trump. He actually thinks this is okay. He's gone ahead with the plan. I think they were talking about the prisoners being sent to Estonia, which is a bit like the Rwanda project. It just doesn't make sense. it's a crazy idea to send UK prisoners over to another country. How are they going to do their reform programs? How are they going to get the help and access they need? I'm not talking about sexual predators. I'm talking about other prisoners. For example, getting an education. A lot of people go into prison and they want to get an education, so they'll do a degree or they'll do a master's, and that's not going to be available for them in Estonia. What's going to be available for them in Estonia? The people that actually do want to change. I'm not talking about I'm going a bit off topic.
No, but it's hard to cover it all, isn't it? It's hard because there's so many levels. Like you said, you've got the fraudulent ones, you've got the money laundering ones. Okay, so they are a risk to the system, I suppose. So that's probably why they're still in, because they're a risk to the elites or what have you. You've got these hackers that are probably in jail. So they're ones that are not being physically violent or threatening or doing anything like that. But then you've got these petty criminals that maybe have gone through a life in the care system or abuse, like my brother and that level, who just, and there's a lot of people in prisons where they got the reading and writing age of a 7-year-old, their education's lacking, so they just ride the system because it's a routine and it's dry and they're not homeless. And then you've got these severe cases where they're doing that to the most vulnerable. Now, in my opinion, keep those ones in, but it seems like we've got the worst criminals walking out of prison.
No, 100%. And they have they have people that are coming out of prison that are not safe. They're not safe. And isn't prison there to protect your people? Because I'm not worried about a fraudster around the corner. Yeah, I'm worried about him accessing my emails, but I'm not worried about him hurting my family,
Yeah. But then I know a woman and she done a massive campaign. Now, she found out later on in life she had dyslexia. Then her son had a brain injury and she had to teach him to read and write again. And she had this idea and somehow she got it into the prisons to reform and teach a lot of these ones that have got dyslexia and the undiagnosed in prisons to read and write again by using simple, like thinking outside the box. So they'd use toothpaste and writing in sand, so they could practice in their cells because it wasn't dangerous or harmful. And she had a massive campaign and she's got an OBE. I have to get her on, actually. She's on my TikTok. And what she done was incredible. But of course, funding collapsed and she don't do it no more. But she had so many good stories where she got them out of prison once they were released and they got into work and she's changed their lives. There are people that you can reform, but there are so many like Huw Edwards that I don't think is going to happen. That's it.
It's difficult. It's a bit like a psychopath. You can't change who they are. It's the fabric of them. It's their DNA. So it's very difficult to reform somebody like that because that's their sexual preference. It's a bit like if you're into bestiality, is that going to change overnight? You're born with a makeup and you're wired to a certain way of what you prefer. And at the end of the day, that's never going to go away. They need to be monitored. I do think in America, they have as child safety zones, I think they're called, and they don't allow offenders to go near certain zones. And I think they have to check in all the time, and they're monitored a lot more closely. As far as I know, in certain states, there is a stricter regime with the American offenders.
Do you think the UK have got to the point, though, with all this human rights where a child protection zone would cause harm to the abuser or the culprit or the persecutor nowadays? Do you know what I mean? I feel like we're getting into those times because in all of this, what about the people? What are the people meant to do? The ones who are just trying to work and do right. And you've got, the violent criminals being released and Sadiq Khan saying they should have priority on the housing. It's sort of, so then it questions the people that are working hard. So where does that leave me? Why should I do this? So then actually it might encourage more people to break the law to be treated better.
Well, this is the thing, right? So they're going to be given housing as well. They're going to be jumping right to the top of the list. You've got single mums or families that have got overcrowded conditions. They need to be moved. They need to be moved for the threat of violence or medical conditions. And instead of them getting the priority, a low life like an SA predator is going to get a nice house. Is going to get rewarded for that. Imagine.
And can you imagine the sad instance, say, in a theoretical world, where you've got the victim of that person who's on that same council list, yet their abuser gets prioritized above them? Because that, you know, we don't know. But that is an actual, it could happen. So then
100%.
what are you doing? You're rewarding the abuser. My sister had to go through court and stand in a dock, and what we went through on the run up to that in trying to get the police, but it's like, you know, just log it. We can't do anything until there's a crime, basically. Can't be anything until there's a body. You know? And there nearly was a body, you know. So in what she went through, the nightmares, and she used to wake up screaming, and to go through all of that, then, I don't know, 6 months later, have a letter to be like, oh, there's no room in the prison, so we're letting this one out. Your abuser.
How long did your sister's ex-partner get in prison? 10 years. Oh, you're frozen, Tina. You're back.
I did freeze in the back. He got 10 years.
Our sound tonight is doing really well, by the way, guys. I'm really proud of our sound. No, you're all right. You're back. It's one of them things. Is it nearly the full moon? Is that why it's happening? Because I seem to have problems near the full moon.
One of those days, isn't it, Vic?
One of them days.
No, he got 10 years. He got 10 years. And yeah, it was just a really hellish time. I see so many stories, and no doubt you've all seen them, you know, where the mom, her teenage son was murdered by a group of people. They all got sent to jail, but one of them who didn't actually commit the crime, but he was part of the crime, he's been released early. Then you had the man who literally attacked his wife partner on the street. He was sentenced and released within 3 weeks after being sentenced, but because he'd done a lot of his time on remand. But in this time on remand, that victim is still waiting for that justice. So she's got to that moment of justice, then 3 weeks later.
And it's a lot for a woman that has been through coercive control and has got living in that moment of domestic violence, because it strips away their whole being, right, and their identity, and they have to rebuild themselves again, not just deal with the PTSD of that. They have to also rebuild their character, their strength, and they have to start questioning who they are again and getting their life back together. So to go through the whole court case is really, really difficult. It's a struggle. And I think a lot of the time women do want to back out, because it's like, is this worth putting myself through, because of the emotional distress that comes with it? And so it takes a lot of strength to go through with it and actually get someone prosecuted. And then it demeans the whole thing when they're released. It just devalues the whole process. And I mean, I'm glad that your sister's ex got 10 years. That's a long time. But I bet he was released in half of that time.
Yeah. He was. Yeah. And you know, he was a really, really bad case and a really dangerous man, and it weren't long before he was back inside for something else, you know. But that was watching my sister, and she was only young, go through all of that, and the nightmares and the trauma, and it was a lot, you know. And for her to go through all of that, I couldn't even imagine if we were living that time now. And not only that, I suppose we have got loads of survivors who's probably just been through all of that, and they're now fearing a letter through the door back into the unknown.
Back into the unknown, and a restraining order does not stop a person coming to your home just because
Not
they
when
have
they're
one, not when they're a
wired.
psycho and not when they want to do things to you. They're going to be there in the bush. That's what they do. And so I was just reading some more figures. So 20% of adults sentenced for penetrative SA with girls aged 13 to 15 receive suspended or community sentences. That's for full-on abuse, we will call it. I can't say the other word. 40% of adults sentenced for non-penetrative sexual activity were also suspended, and only 50% were giving immediate custodial sentences. I mean, such a low rate there. And it goes, I think it's like once you start showing people what you can get away with in this country, it's a bit like the thieving that's going on at the moment. You can't really put the the Queen's Guard, but oh my god, I love when Vic says the word naughty. Is that
Naughty?
Naughty.
Naughty.
I know, it comes out of me just sometimes, doesn't it?
Naughty. I can't do it now.
Naughty.
Naughty.
But the thing with England at the minute as well is there is a lot of thieving going on, right? London is rife at the moment, and people are walking in shops and they're going to get just bags of wine, alcohol, take it off the shelf, masked up, sometimes not even masked up. I was actually in the shop the other day when that happened. Wow. And I was they pushed past me. Obviously, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to let them crack on. I'm not going to put myself in harm's way.
You're not stupid, are you? No.
And
the police are not going to risk it. Why are you?
the security guard as well just doesn't do anything because they're not allowed to legally touch anyone in the UK. The security guards, I know they're hired to protect the shop, but they can't actually put hands on another person. So what is the point? What the deterrent is just there.
To be honest with you, unless they steal, is it over £200 worth of stuff? The police don't even come anyway. So say, allegedly, apparently. And my sister works in a well-known supermarket in the UK. And the other day, they had someone come in doing their stealing right on full view. And the shop manager or member of staff, and there was a copper in the police officer in the shop. It sort of went over and was like, can you help us out? And they were like, it's not my jurisdiction. I'm not from here. Like, and they were like, what? He was like, this is not my area. So it's just like, no.
I have a square meter of area that I can work in.
Yeah, I thought that the jurisdiction was only in America, but no, apparently it works in counties in England. I didn't know that. And so mental. But then, why would the security guard get involved? Why would you risk your own life when the police are not even going to come if that don't hit over £200? It's just all messed up, isn't it?
I have a friend that works in a well-known supermarket, and it's probably one of the, and it's actually it's one of the most ghetto supermarkets in London. Right? You can't. It's amazing what happens in this supermarket, and it was actually on the news because someone went in and attacked all the workers. They're all dressed up in costumes, and they went in and attacked the workers. And some woman got knocked out, and she was in hospital for ages. She didn't go back to work for over a year. But this happens on a regular basis at this supermarket where people come in and they knock out the security guard.
Wow.
And it's all different. And they also climb into the warehouse and they steal the alcohol, because there is a lot of alcoholics in the area. There's a lot of drug users in the area. And it's profound for its madness. I just think I would not want to be a security guard there.
You're in the thick of it, aren't you? You're
I'm in the. We like to call it the hood around here.
The hood.
And when I hear a bang, I don't necessarily think it's a firework. Put it that way.
See, I'm like down a bit, so I'm more like in the country, but not the country. You know,
I might have
I'm
to live where
more.
you are.
So I'm near. Yeah.
I
So,
did used to live in the countryside. I was born
but I'm
in
not in the
London.
countryside. What I've
Oh,
got like a I don't know. Let's say a farmer accent or what have you.
I think you've got a beautiful accent, Tina. It's lovely.
I'd love a not. I can't do it. I'd love a
And not
naughty.
naughty.
Do
So
you use apple and pears?
no, that's East End of London. My family's from
Oh.
southwest, but then I've got Irish family as well, so it's all a bit mixed
Mhm.
up. And yeah, not we were never from the east. My mum's
Mhm.
side were never from the East
Then
End. They were from South
Sam.
London. So anyway,
Yeah, sorry.
moving on. Huw Edwards' wife.
Yes.
Okay, so Vicky was in a 30-year marriage and is said to be over, obviously, after he's done these unthinkable things, right? And the offences that took place were between, I think, December 20, April 22. So this was a 2-year thing, right?
Mhm.
So it went on for a while. And she apparently said to have moved out of the family home. I know he moved out of the family home,
Mhm.
and the couple that share 5 grown-up children together, they obviously estranged now. This is the information that I'm getting.
Yeah.
And she also works in the industry as well. And it's believed he's moved to another property in the capital, has been splitting his time between there and his he's originally from Wales.
Mhm.
But the couple have not yet divorced.
Okay.
So they separated quite a long time ago, but have not announced it publicly. She works in television and was previously the editor of the BBC This Week before she moved to ITV's rival politics show. And she's also worked on Britain's Next Prime Minister. So Vicky, she's been in the papers a bit. She's made a statement as well. And she basically, I think it's probably just as hard on her. It's going to be a massive shock. So I always feel for the wives of these people.
Absolutely.
And not to know who you've been with for that amount of time must be a real struggle for that wife. And to also think, will your children ever in danger around your husband? Because you do hear of a lot of dads that do this to their children. And do you think this is like putting it out there, but do you think that there was ever a moment for Huw where he would have felt that way about his own kids?
It's hard, isn't it? I can't remember. I've just read a comment. You naturally go there, don't you? You know, you naturally. How can you have these urges towards your to other people's young, but not that don't transfer towards every child? You know, I'm not going to say, obviously, you can't say, but it's hard not to think that way. If you've broke the law and done that to a pitch, it's really hard. And you know, we know as moms that if we were to find that out, your mind you would question your children. It's a conversation that I'm sure has been had.
It's definitely it's something that would flicker through my mind if someone I knew was convicted of that and they were close to me and my family. I would think, were my children ever safe around them? And you never really know somebody, do you? You never really know what their intentions are. And also, you know, people hide behind power and they hide behind religion. So he was a devout Christian. He went to church on a weekly basis. He was vice president of National Churches Trust, and he had a vital role that he played in the whole church. So he was bringing people together. He was providing quiet spaces. So he was very active in the community and in the church community.
Well, it's the same old story, isn't it? If you go back to Jimmy Savile, if you go, you know, and I know Philip Schofield, and I know that the child he was in a relationship, he was older, but he still met him whilst he was younger, you know. So,
but it's a grooming, isn't it?
Yeah, it's grooming. And actually, Huw Edwards, I see today that it was the child or the young person at the center of this. He's now the young person at the center of the original allegations against Huw Edwards has now said he feels groomed by the broadcaster. In an interview with the Daily Mail, the man who says he was paid by Edwards to send sexually explicit pictures of himself when he was a teenager accused the former newsreader of feeding on his vulnerability. And the Sun newspaper first broke the story about an unnamed young person alleged contact with Edwards in July last year. It published his mother's claims that Edwards, who at that point had not been named publicly, had paid her child tens of thousands of pounds for explicit photos over 3 years, beginning when they were 17. Its original report, the Sun referred to the individual as a young person without identifying a gender. A few days later, the lawyer representing the young person disputed their mother's accounts of events, saying that allegations reported in the Sun newspaper are rubbish. So he had first contact with Edwards, as well as other celebrities on social media, to ask for help when he became homeless. He said the 62-year-old sent him money before beginning to ask if there was anything he would do for him in return. Although it was a friendship at the beginning, it did change. He would say things like, "Are you going to do something for me then? I need help, so I did," he said. "I feel like he sort of fed on my vulnerability. As he knew I needed the money, I felt like I was being groomed." The young man says he sent explicit messages and videos to Edwards, who he said to have sent £35,000 over 2 years in return.
No.
That is a lot of money. And because of who he was as a BBC presenter and because he had such power, I felt like I trusted him and that he cared, the young man said. But that's how the manipulation started. I looked up to this man, but he didn't really care about me. I felt like he was taking advantage of me, but I felt I had to listen to him because he was Huw Edwards. He said he had stayed silent to protect Edwards, but added he felt sick when he heard the news this week. So I believe the parents had sort of whistle blew it to the Sun at the time. But that is from BBC News, though. So BBC, I don't know. But and I did hear an article where they said the parents had said when you actually see the messages, you could see the coercive control in the way he'd get arsey, shall we say. So I don't know, it's all, that's all allegedly is, that's all read off there, but
we know then that allegedly he is a predator. I mean, that shows he's a predator in my opinion. So there is a lot of factual evidence supporting that he is yeah. But we are being shown by the UK prison system and the government that that's okay. We're going to release them early.
Yeah.
And I must say as well that he's no longer working for the church, so he has been stripped from the role at the trust and all the companies he was involved in. So yeah, they're shocked and saddened by the recent developments. But this happens quite a lot within religion. Unfortunately, people of power in a powerful position are drawn to that style of job because they know what they can get away with. It's very hard to go up against people that hold a lot of power. And I'm glad that this came to light, but there isn't enough. He hasn't had the justice that he deserves, as far as I'm concerned. So I think we're going to probably see a lot more of a shake-up within the prison system. They do need to build more prisons, but will they be privatized? Because if they can't afford to keep them in the prison, or are they going to privatize and then we're going to have a whole load of corruption. Then it's all going to change. All going to change. A bit like the NHS.
I don't know though. Can they afford? I'm going to go off on a tangent now. I'm going to digress a minute. Like all this we can't afford. I read today that the MPs are being paid £361 a day just to sign in at the House Lords. A day. And we're being told, they can't afford this, that, and the other. That's coming out of the taxpayer. Like, it just blows my mind.
Well, they put the money where they feel necessary, so they will help each other out. So I get they won't reform that because the House of Lords is an ancient establishment, and it's benefiting people at the moment. So why would they change that? That's the last thing they're going to change. Yeah. They're going to strike the people that are at the bottom first, like they have with the heating allowance for the elderly.
And that's £300 a year. And they're being paid. And I actually got to see the menu today on a post someone did of the canteen within the House of Lords. It's ridiculous.
What's that? Say that again. Your sound went.
Sorry. The House of Lords like canteen menu and price list. It's just wrong. All of it's wrong.
Was it extortionate? Talk to me. What was the prices?
I find it. Do you want to see what they can eat and how cheap?
Oh my God. And Leah, so France, I go to France quite a lot, so I'm a bit up on the old politics there as well, and it's very expensive to live in France at the moment, and the water bills are extortionate, aren't they? And I think people are really struggling food wise there because the food prices have gone up a bit like here. But they are taking from the French a lot more. The taxes are quite high as far as I know. Go on then, show me.
So the members dining room. I'm sorry guys, trigger warning. The members dining room, starters soup of the day, £2.71.
Well, that's quite reasonable.
Right? Well, it is, but when you compare it to how much we're paying for food and how much rosemary salt baked squash panna cotta with almond feta, beer and onion ketchup and parsnip crisps, £4.10. Balsamic and thyme honey beetroot tartar with golden cross goats, cheese mousse, Granny Smith apple and micro celery, £4.10. Could it get any Master Chef? Like, I just can't. The mains, char grilled ribeye steak with hand cut chips, tomato mushroom, and béarnaise sauce, £9.19. That's up there. Tenner for a ribeye steak.
So why is it so cheap for them then?
Pan fried salmon with courgette, I can't even read that word, butternut croquette potatoes, black olive crumb, and chive cream sauce, £7.33.
Why is it so cheap? You can't get salmon here for like £20 in a restaurant. That's considered quite low price. So they're obviously getting a nice little discount.
They're laughing, aren't they? They're laughing.
They are laughing at us. They were always laughing at us. They were laughing at us through COVID when they were having parties. So this is the issue. We are in a very divided, corrupt state at the moment, and to see these violent offenders walking our streets again, being released early, it sickens my stomach. But we should all be out there rioting collectively. I know I shouldn't be saying that actually, but peaceful rioting.
What are you trying to do?
Peaceful.
No,
not rioting,
no,
guys.
We don't want to do that.
I'm talking about marches, marches that will make a change. Should not have said that. Making a change. So we should be out there protesting, peaceful walks to reform our system. And that is all I have to say on that. Fish and chips are expensive now in London. I had some last time I was there. Yeah,
Oh, it's
everything's expensive in London. And
Do you
yeah.
think though? I feel like when I watch some of these MPs or people speaking on behalf of them on the TV, I feel like the rich poor divide is got so big. There's like a giant ravine between us. And I literally, after everything with the £300 heating allowance, the fact that, you know, the winter is approaching, a cold one as well, so say. And we're all fearing that, you know, the older generation, they can't earn any extra money. They've paid their way all this time. I do understand that, you know, your multi-millionaires like Huw Edwards shouldn't be getting the heating allowance on the money he's got in the bank. But there does need to be some, you know, there are so many that are literally going to be going into poverty and, you know, heating poverty this winter. And when I see them literally, because obviously the Prime Minister's in a bit of trouble because some rich man's been buying his wife clothes and he never declared it or never logged it. And I literally see MPs after, you know, they voted to take this heating allowance away off the old people, sort of saying, well, you know, other presidents and people of higher caliber in other countries, they get a clothing allowance. So if they give her a clothing allowance, she needs to look great, and like joking around and about how David Lammy got criticised over his trainers turning up. And it's like, are you actually laughing and joking, demanding a clothing allowance when I look at it and I just can't. Is there not any remorse? Do you not feel bad? Do you not feel like these words shouldn't be coming out of your mouth right now?
I think we are run by sociopaths and psychopaths anyway, in my opinion. Not everyone, but they don't have that feeling anyway. There's a different way of thinking with them. And that's, I mean, they're the people that can do it because they want to do it. They're hungry for the power. Someone like me and you, do we want to be Prime Minister? No.
I wouldn't do that for absolute.
It's just not.
I couldn't deal with it. The overthinking would be extreme.
I'd never
catastrophizing.
And there's so much red tape around what you can do anyway. It's not like you could go in and shake up the whole system because they won't allow that. There are powers beyond that of the Prime Minister. They are just the kind of, I would call them a puppet. And there are people working behind the scenes, and you know, we can go into this. It's like going into conspiracy mode, isn't it? But there are the money rules the world, and so there's more to it, and we know that it's very multifaceted.
Conspiracy theories are becoming easily believable right now, current time, you know. And people like Leah, I go to work, it takes an hour and a half to get there, an hour and a half to get back. I won't mention all the delays. I can spend 4 hours in travel to work in a day. Anne-Marie Tall, I buy my clothes from charity shops. So do I. Like, I literally live for charity shops. So you're in the right room there.
So Tina does loads of videos on what she gets in her outfits, and it's like, you know, like a fashion segment on her YouTube channel.
I haven't done one in a while.
She loves to. She gets in trouble by her husband for keep buying clothes.
I need to get rid of some to bring some more in.
You need to you could have like a change. What you could do is on a live, you could like change into different outfits.
That's a new way.
Yeah, or different.
The charity shop by me has become a bit like my walk-in wardrobe, so I just go and buy stuff, have it for a bit, then just take it back and buy more.
Do you sneak it into the house?
Yeah.
It
was when I went in there the one day and there was like loads of hats and they were beautiful, and I was like, I need this hat. And I was like, I've got no weddings to go to, but I was like, I need these hats. And I was like, oh, I'll have a hat wall in my bedroom. I'll turn them into art just so I can buy them at this bargain. My husband's just like, oh my God. I literally threw a whole birthday party for myself, with my husband, because I see this gold glittery, like prom. I never had a prom. I never went to prom. I was, you know, pregnant and all of that shebang.
Were you and I see your prom. How old were you?
I didn't go to the prom because I was pregnant.
Okay, so how old were you then when you were pregnant?
I was 16.
Was you? I didn't know that. Wow,
I own a 24-year-old.
Oh my God.
I know, right? So I see this gold sparkly dress and I was like, I need to buy it, but I've got nowhere to wear it. So it's my birthday soon. Can I have a birthday party to justify wearing the dress that I bought for 50p? And whoever took the dress to the I have to go and get it and show you. Whoever took the dress to the charity shop took the shoes as well. So I had the shoes and the dress for £1. I'm going to go and get it and show you my dress.
Yeah, we have to. That is so funny. Brilliant. I mean, what a bargain. Bought a sofa the other week. Yes. I mean, charity shops are great, but the ones in London are quite expensive. I would say that they're more expensive than regular shops, because you can get really cheap clothes on certain websites now, and get a whole wardrobe. Whereas if you go into a charity shop in London, I think it's overpriced. Do we have proms? Are there proms in the UK? So they kind of started bringing them in when I was at school. I think me and Tina are nearly the same age. I didn't go to my prom either. That was for different reasons. But oh my god,
it's covered in fake blood because I went as a murder prom queen. 50p. Like,
wow!
Look
at you. That's lovely.
I can't get rid of it now though, so
no.
I might need it for the Halloween party.
Yeah, I have to come. We should do a Halloween special, actually.
Yes, I can wear it.
Yeah, you can wear it, 100%. I'm going to be in Florida though.
Oh my god, you're going to
Halloween? No, I'm going for Halloween. Yeah, well, not just for Halloween, but I will be there.
Trick or treating, it's a long way to go.
I'm just going for the day. It's for Halloween.
Oh wow, incredible! I was in New York for Halloween.
Was she?
It was
good.
It was like the movies. I've never. How Americans celebrate Halloween is just incredible. So we got back into I don't know, what is it? I can't even remember. I got into the main part of New York after we'd done like these cocktail bars, and we literally pulled up outside this cinema, and it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. And the street was just full of teenagers, all in full-on fancy dress, queuing up to go and watch horror films. They had the cars with the hydraulics. Literally, it just stood still. New York stood still. And like they were celebrating Halloween at 1 o'clock in the morning. It was phenomenal.
They do go all out, don't they? And the actual Halloween originated from, originally was Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it came from. Yeah. So there's a story about Jack with the pumpkin. And then they would warn off spin. It wasn't originally a pumpkin. I think it was a turnip. And so it's over the years that's changed to a pumpkin, and it's to ward off spirits. And there is a story about the how it come to light, but I don't want to tell the story and get it wrong because I might leave out some important parts. And Leah, yes. So the prom, I don't think every school did a prom. I have to say, I don't think every school did. Some chose to. I'm going to Florida on the 18th of October.
Wow.
So I'm really excited, and I'm out there. I'm up till the 4th of November. So 16 days of Disneyland, roller coasters, and craziness. I'm going to need another holiday after that. Yeah, I can't wait. I cannot wait. I'm so excited. Taking the kids to Florida has been my dream. So I'm very excited for them. They don't know what they're in store and what's in store for them.
I've still not got a child who likes theme park rides.
Well, none of mine like theme parks.
Oh, they're not?
No, but I just want them to like the experience. We're gonna do the dolphins from the dolphins. I'm gonna do a few different experiences, NASA experience, all that. So looking forward to it. So I'll try and do a live out there, and I'll definitely do a live for Halloween, because I'm going to show you. We're going to Fright Night.
Wow,
that's gonna be scary.
Take Tina with you, please do. Please do.
LCG,
take me with you, please.
You can fit in my suitcase. I've got enough luggage allowance. We've overpaid.
When do you get back?
The 4th of November.
You'll be away for my birthday.
We'll celebrate after. We'll
Yeah.
celebrate after. All right. Well, thank you. We're going to wrap it up for today. But yeah, I wanted to cover Huw Edwards and really just the vibe here in the UK. I mean, I think a lot of people feel disgusted with the outcome. But we're going to see what Keir Starmer has to offer now with this prison release. You know, streaming out violent offenders isn't, I think, the right way to go. And hopefully they come up with a better solution, because this isn't going to work. And this isn't going to keep our roads, our children safe. And we'll cover probably something similar to this next Monday. If you want to join me again next Monday.
Absolutely, I will.
Yeah.
Tina, you should go with Victoria. See, the problem is with that, Victoria's going with her family, and I've got a family. We're not Meghan and Harry. We can't just ditch the kids. Otherwise, that would be a holiday, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no. Unfortunately, we'll try and do a holiday one day. What happened to that?
Yeah.
We don't. What happened to that man?
Well, I think they just fall into the abyss. And I think this is why people are getting increasingly frustrated with this imbalance, dare I say the words, of Tia. But I don't know.
So I haven't actually heard any more on that. I'll have a little research, guys, because I can't give you the right
There's
information.
so many, like that army corporal who got attacked outside with his rucksack. There's so many that just fall off.
And we don't hear about it. We have to do a bit of digging.
Yeah.
Call Doria, she will babysit. Yeah, but then my kids would be really high then, Leah, and I don't really want my children stoned. Okay, guys?
It's all right, because they won't go to prison.
No, it's fine.
God,
well, thank you so much for joining us in the side chat. I do apologise about the sound issues, but thank you for bearing with us and staying with us. Yeah. And we'll see you guys. I'll probably be doing another live this week, but Tina will be back with me next Monday.
I'm a Monday girl.
You're a Monday girl, yep. Yeah, it's
First day of the week,
First day of the week. Okay. All right. Love you lot. Thanks for joining us. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.